Hi, Sarah from Waistband here, and today I'm going to be sewing up a pair of boxers using my free Speedy Pants pattern, and I'll pop a link to the free pattern in the comments. Now, I've already printed and cut my paper pattern out, but I wanted to show you something quickly before I cut my fabric out. One of the good things about this pattern is that it doesn't have a center back seam. Okay, there is just one piece of fabric that goes all the way from the front all the way around the back and back to the front again. But because of this, it has a sort of slightly unusual pattern piece shape. This bit here needs to go on the fold, and this is where the centre back is, and it's on the fold rather than having a seam. But you'll see that the bottom of the pattern piece here, this is going to be where the legs go, is on an angle. So a fabric such as this with a non-directional pattern is a great option. All plain fabrics are obviously a great option, but something with a really strong directional print are going to be less good, because once you've lined up this part here on the fold, your pattern is not going to be following the bottom of your boxes. Now, it's not the end of the world. This is underwear, and quite frankly, like, who cares what's happening with the pattern on the legs of some underwear? But there's just a little thing I wanted to point out to you, that if you have a choice, something with a non-directional pattern is going to be the best choice for this one. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out my fabric now. I need to cut out one of this main piece, which is on the fold. This pattern has bands that go around the legs and the waist. There's no elastic, there's no hemming. It's why it's called Speedy Pants, because it is so speedy to make. So I need to cut out 2 leg bands, I need to cut out 1 waistband and 1 boxer front, and this is the section that will go here. I'm going to use all the same fabric just because I'm trying to use up some scraps in my studio today, but you can make these in all the same or all different. They just need to have good stretch and return for the waistband and the leg band pieces. If you use something that doesn't have great stretch and return, then you're going to end up with a saggy waistband and boxers around ankles, and nobody wants that. So use a good quality cotton lycra for the waistband to make sure that your boxers stay up. So these are all the pieces that you will need to make your boxers. You need 1 of the main part, 1 of the front, 2 leg bands, and 1 waistband. Now I'm just going to pop the waistband and the leg bands to the side for a moment because I don't need them yet. And the first thing you need to do is take this front piece and flip it over so your fabrics are right size facing, and you want to pin or clip from the top to the bottom. Now, if you take a look at this piece here, the wider section goes at the top and the narrower section goes at the bottom. If you're ever unsure, the direction of the text on the paper pattern will tell you which way up something is generally meant to be. And now here you are joining 2 curves that are different. So you need to do what's called easing. And easing is just where I like to think of it as persuading. You are persuading those 2 curves that they want to go together. So you'll see I did the top and the bottom, and then I did the middle, and then I'm just gently persuading that fabric to go together. You shouldn't really have to stretch it. Stretching is too far. That's like you're forcing it. You're not forcing these 2 pieces to go together. You are persuading them. My printer's making some funny noises. I don't know whether you can hear that. It just likes to rumble every now and then so that I know that it's still there. So there you have, I have joined my front piece to my main piece along the curve, and I need to now head over to my overlocker, and I'm going to sew from here to here. Reminder, if you don't have an overlocker, that's fine. You need to use a stretch stitch on a regular sewing machine, or you can use a long, narrow zigzag stitch, but I have an overlocker, so that's what I'm going to use here. Now, these are called Speedy Pants because they are very speedy to make, so I'm going to be taking the speediest options today. You can, if you wish, top stitch along this seam here. If you're making it, for example, for a gift, okay, it does give a nicer finish, a more professional finish. I am a big fan of using stretch thread. So this is Mariflex. There's lots of other brands out there. This is a stretchy thread. That means that you can just use a straight stitch for your top stitching when using jersey. That's what I would use if I was going to top stitch mine today, but I am taking the Speedy options because I have to pick my kids up in about 20 minutes. So top stitch here, if you wish, make sure to use a stretch option. So if you don't have stretch thread, you can use a stretch stitch, you can use a zigzag stitch, you can use a twin needle. Use something that is going to stretch. Okay, so then you need to bring the other side of your main piece over. And you've got another curve here. This is the same as the curve you've just sewn. And you are going to join the remaining long side of your front piece to this remaining long curve here. And again, you're going to be easing those two curves into submission. That's what it looks like. If I flip it over, you can see this is the front piece here. So I now need to go and sew this second side here. Here's the seam that I've just sewn. You can now see that both sides of this central piece, this middle piece, are now attached to the main piece. So that's how it looked when I took it off the machine just now. And I'm just rearranging it so that this front piece, this central piece, is right in the middle. And as I do that, you should find that there is a curve at the back that's approximately the same as the curve at the front here that you've created by joining your main piece and your front piece. Now, we are now going to sew along here. Okay, so you're going to join these two curves together, and that's going to create like the under part of the boxes, and the two legs are going to be created here. Now, this is the fiddliest part of the whole pattern. Okay, it's small, it's a curve, and it's the place where you are most likely to slip and end up with a little hole or a little bit less than accurate. Now, number one, again, like I said before, it's a pair of boxers. I actually don't care if it's not the neatest, but if you are a perfectionist, or if you are sewing a gift, or if you are sewing to sell, or if you are a beginner and you're not used to sewing with jersey and you really want to get a good result, this is the tool that I recommend for pretty much every problem in sewing. Okay, it's wash away tape. So this is double-sided tape, out, and you would literally take a piece of this, you would stick it on one side of the fabric, take the other side off, you stick the fabric down, and then your two layers are stuck together and you're going to get a really good result. So any concerns at all, sewing with jersey and slippery layers in general, but particularly for this curve here at the bottom of the boxes, go get yourself some wash away tape. Okay, it's literally my favorite thing. I feel they need to sponsor me because I'm always raving on about how much I love it. So all we've done is we've rearranged the boxes, so you're looking at this front piece here, and I have clipped along this bottom curve that attaches the front to the back. So I'm just going to sew this teeny tiny curve here. I'm going to go slowly, I'm going to go carefully. Let's hope for the best. Ta-da! And we have something that's starting to look like boxes. So if I turn this the right way out, there we go. You can see how this is going to become boxes. So next, I need to put on the waistband and I need to put on the two leg bands. So to create each of these, you take the long piece and you fold it so that you're matching the short ends, and you're going to sew that short end. And you're going to do the same thing for the waistband, which is the biggest one. And then you should have two leg bands that are the same size. Okay, so there are my three different things I'm going to go sew now. And I'm going to sew along this short edge here to create 3 rings of fabric ready to put on my boxes. So I'm going to put the two leg bands to the side for a moment. The process that we use to put the waistband on is exactly the same for the leg band. So once I've shown you one, you're going to be able to do them all. So your waistband will currently be the wrong way round. You want to just lift up the bottom so that you have a double layer band. I bring that up. You should be able to see here, I've just lifted up and I've got 2 layers going on now. So that's my waistband. Now I'm going to arrange mine so that the seam goes to the centre back. Now, since there isn't a centre back seam for you to work from, normally there'd be one that you could line it up with, I've just folded my boxes in half and I'll stick a little pin in there. That's so I know where my centre back is. Your seam can go anywhere if you prefer it. Some people prefer it at the side. I just like to put it at the back because it's one extra signal to my kid that that's the back, because my kids their whole life have always had a great talent for putting things on the wrong way round. We now need to get these boxes inside this waistband, and you'll see the waistband is smaller than the boxes. That's intentional. If the waistband was bigger, that wouldn't hold them up and you'd have boxes that were falling down all the time. So what I'm going to do is just squish it together. I'm not picking it up and squishing it together because then you could end up with twisting it and it could end up the wrong way around. Literally just flat on my table, just moving it like that. So it's now smaller. And now I'm going to slide this waistband down so that it's inside. I haven't flipped it over, I haven't moved it. I've literally just moved the boxes up and the waistband down. Now I'm going to pin where this centre back is. I'm going to pin that to the centre back of my boxes. Now, if I was clever, I would have marked the centre front of the waistband before I started. I am not. So to find that, this is what I always end up doing because I'm not organised and I don't even follow my own instructions. Make sure that the centre back, that's where the seam is, I'm pushing that down on the table. Now, if I pull up, the bit that ends up pulling towards me, okay, if I try pulling here, I can't pull. My finger slips around until it's here. That's your centre front. So I can put another pin in there. Get it out of my pin pot. That's my centre front. That wants to go into the centre front of my boxes. I can see this is the centre section that we sewed on, those 2 long curves. I'm just popping that right in the middle of that. So I've still got my boxes scrunched up inside my waistband and they're now pinned in 2 places. I'm going to pick them up by those 2 places and turn over so that I'm looking at one of the sides. Now, as I said, the waistband is smaller than the boxes so that it can hold the boxes up. You want to make sure that you distribute the boxes fabric evenly along the waistband. You don't want it to be all gathered at one end and loose and baggy at the other end. So what I do is I grab those 2 bits that I've already pinned. I've pinned one here, one here. I'm going to grab them and gently pull them until both the boxes and the waistband are lying flat. That's going to get another pin in there. Flip over to the other side. Again, this is now the front here, this is the back here. I'm going to grab the front and the back and pull until both the waistband and the boxes look flat. Pop another pin in here. Now, if I rearrange that back, I now have enough pins that I would probably go ahead and sew it now. But if you've not done this before, go and do that whole process again. Grab 2 pins, pull them until both the waistband and the main boxes are flat against each other. Pinch, put a pin in. Move on to the next 2 pins. Pull them until the boxes are lying flat. Pinch, put a pin in. Keep going around. We put another 4 pins in. A lovely bent pin there, that's great. Last one, pull till it's flat, pinch, put a pin in. I probably wouldn't do any more than that. If you were doing something that was adult size, you might want to go around and do another set of pins so that your fabric is really evenly distributed. But I'm feeling pretty good about this. Now, something I should have mentioned earlier, now I have a non-directional pattern on my fabric. We've already talked about that. But if you are using a directional print and you want your waistband for the print to be the right way up, here's the tip. at this point, while you're looking at it, while you've pinned it on, the print here should be the right way up. That feels wrong because you know you're going to flip it. So you're like, no, I need to put it upside down. No, because the print on the other side is the other way up. So when you're looking at it right now at this moment, the print here should be the correct way up. So if I had people, their heads would be up here, their feet would be down here. Okay, my Lego men are doing cartwheels. I don't know what they're doing, so I don't need to worry about them. But if you were using a directional print, the top of your print should be up here, the bottom of your print should be down here. Then when you flip it, the other side will be the right way up. Trust me. Okay, I've got a couple of other videos, I think, on shorts and on reels about this, so go and have a look if you don't believe me. But that's how you're going to get your print the right way up on your cuffs. Right, I'm now going to go head over back to my overlocker, and I'm going to sew these two layers together. Now, as I sew, I'm going to gently stretch just the waistband until my layers are lying flat. So at the moment, they're not flat. I pull, there, stop there. Don't want to stretch it this far because then your waistband's going to end up all baggy and weird and wobbly. Okay, so I take it and I'm just going to stretch until the layers are lying flat together. So this is what it looks like straight off the machine. And all I need to do is flip up that waistband and you can see how it's going to go. Now, you'll notice that it's a little bit bumpy, a little bit wavy around this waistband. That's because you've gathered a fair amount of boxer fabric into a fairly tight waistband. As soon as it's on a body, that will disappear, okay? The waistband will stretch and it will sit beautifully flat and flush against the body. If, as before I've mentioned, if you're sewing for a gift, if you're sewing to sell and it's bothering you, a good steam press will probably get rid of most of it, but alternatively, you could top stitch here. You just need to make sure you're using a really stretchy option because this is the part that gets stretched the most. So now all there is left to do is to do the leg bands, and they are created in the exact same way as the waistband. They're just smaller. So that's why I start with this one, because if it's your first go, this one's easier. So I take a leg band, fold it so that I've got a double layer cuff with the right side of the fabric looking at me. This time I have got a seam to match up one end to. I'm going to match my seam to the inside leg here. And this is a little fiddly because they are quite skinny bands. But you just put the band over the leg. Now these, you should not need to stretch these anything like as much as you did for the waistband. These are really just to finish off the edge and make it look neat. They're not gathering in a lot of fabric. They're just a little bit smaller than the leg. So if you want to do the same method that I showed you before of finding the halfway point and then the quarter points and then stretching them all really carefully, that is the best way to go. If I'm honest, I'm just going to eyeball it and call it part of the speedy process because these are Speedy Pants. You can see how that band is supposed to go. I'm going to sew around there and that will attach the band in the same way as the waistband and then do exactly the same over here for the second leg. And there we go. That's what it looks like straight off the machine. And just as before, all you need to do is flip the band so that you're looking at the right side and you're done. And there we go. 30 minutes before I needed to leave for school pickup, I've not only managed to use up a scrap of fabric that I hadn't thought of a use for, I have managed to sew a new pair of boxers for my son and make a video out of it. So this is why they're called Speedy Pants. Now, just as a little reminder, I say this all the time, if you are a beginner or if you do not sew often, do not expect to make them that quickly, okay? It is quite okay if it takes you 2.5 hours to make them. I am not going to come and take the pattern off you because you didn't do them in a speedy way. In fact, if you take 2.5 hours to make them and you enjoy those 2.5 hours, then winning. You've had more enjoyment and sewing time than I have today. But anyway, I hope that you found this useful. Go check out the pattern, and we've got heaps of other free patterns on there for you to try out. Make sure to like and subscribe if you are enjoying this, and I'll see you next time.